You're listening to The Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa.
TuscaloosaThread.com for more local news, sports, and weather coverage. It's absolutely free all throughout the day. Don Hartley, Town Square Media, Tuscaloosa.
The Gary Harris Show. UCM hosts Tider Insider TV, Crimson Tide Kickoff, play-by-play for Alabama sports, and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, just put the headset on. While I was rolling the intro, I said I'll be there. I had to do another show this morning, just showing out of Memphis, Sidelines Live on Thursday mornings. And Rob Brown, the host, I love Rob, but Rob will talk your ear off. And, 8:57, I'm like, Rob, I got to go, man. I got a show to do at 9 o'clock myself. So I walked across the hall and like to get everything situated. People that sit where Wyatt is sitting there on the other side of the glass understand I have a little bit of a morning ritual. Whether I get in, of course, I got to wait for Barry to finish anyway. But whether I walk right in as the show's starting or I walk in 15 minutes early and I'm waiting for Barry to finish, I'm going to do my ritual. I'm going to get my, what do you call these things, Wyatt? The little sanitizing wipes.
Wipes.
Yeah, sanitizing wipes. And there's nothing against anybody. I even wiped down my own headphones. But I'm going to go through my ritual of wiping down the console and the keyboard and my headphones and my mic screen and my chair and get the microphone situated the way I want. And then I'm going to sit down and I'm going to start doing the show. So that's just the way it goes every morning that I'm here. Welcome into the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. I am your host, Gary Harris. As I mentioned, Wyatt Fulton right there on the other side of the glass, manning the controls, taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline, 205-342-9904. 205-342-9904 is the number if you want to join us. We got a jam-packed show today. I mean, some days, we don't have a full slate of guests. And when I say full slate of guests for my show, full slate of guests means 3 guests. That's what I consider a full slate of guests. That means I've got, usually it's going to be 9:30, 10, and 10:30. Not always. And then sometimes you don't only have 2 guests. Sometimes I only have 1. And there have been shows where I've had as many as 4 guests, but 3 guests is an ideal number for me. We've got that this morning for you. I'm going to run it down here in just a second. But first, I need to tell you, as always, this hour of the Gary Harris Show is being brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. Member-owned and not-for-profit. It really is just a better way of banking. Listen to what I say. Member-owned and not-for-profit. You're not just a customer. You're a member. And, man, that has so many advantages. And the way that you are treated as a member is just second to none. It's just it's top-notch. Discover the heart and soul of our member-owned credit union, empowering our members, enriching our community. That is the goal of Alabama Credit Union. Alabama Credit Union. Find out more at alabamacu.com or get by and see them at one of the many locations around the state of Alabama. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Some rules and restrictions do apply. See if you're eligible for membership. Then join today and feel good about your money. And put a little extra change in your pocket. All right, as I said, 3 guests. Coach Ellis Johnson is back with us every Thursday now at 9:30. His weekly visit, let me track it down for you, former defensive coordinator at Alabama, at Auburn, at Mississippi State, at South Carolina. Assistant coach at a number of other schools, head coach at Southern Mississippi and the Citadel, played at the Citadel for Bobby Ross, a legendary coach at Maryland, Georgia Tech, and in the NFL. And always joins us and gives us some great insight into college football. Then at 10 o'clock, he had to reschedule a couple of weeks back right after he got the job, but Christian Jones is going to be with us. So that's kind of a double dip. You get the brand new head coach at Paul W. Bryant High School in Tuscaloosa, getting ready for his first season. And also you get a really accomplished former Alabama football player under Nick Saban. So we'll get to talk high school football and college football with Christian Jones at 10 o'clock. And then at 10:30, we are going to have Jeff Spiegel from ABC 3340, sports anchor and host of The Zone. So really excited about the lineup this morning. As I said as well, you can join us on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline, 205-342-9904. That's 205-342-9904. Before I kind of get into some news and notes, I know yesterday, Wyatt, you were tracking the Damian Harris situation. Anything yet from Damian as far as any kind of statement on what he is going to be doing? Nothing? Just a
Nothing from Damian. No updates there. Of course, we heard Chris Stewart talk about it yesterday on WNSP down in Mobile. But no, I even texted Christian and said, hey, have you heard anything? Are you coming back? And he said, no, nothing right now. No updates on that front. So,
well, it is interesting because again, you're 16 days away from an Alabama football game. And they don't have a sideline reporter right now. Now, again, Roger Hoover is a great pinch hitter in a lot of different areas, but that will be interesting to say the least. Something else that is interesting and always a big deal is the Knicks Kids Luncheon, which was held yesterday at the North Zone inside Bryant-Denny Stadium. Oh, man, nearly $13 million has been handed out to organizations and deserving charities over the last, 17 years since Nick Saban and Terry Saban arrived in Tuscaloosa. Over $600,000 was handed out yesterday. Nick Saban calls it his biggest or his favorite day of the year. And we've got that audio from Nick Saban yesterday as he met with the media. We've also got audio from Nick Sheridan, Alabama offensive coordinator, that we're going to try to get to in a little bit as well. So we are jam-packed this morning. Nick's Kids is something that I've watched it from the time that Coach Saban got here. He already had the Nick's Kids Foundation when he moved to Tuscaloosa. They had it, and I guess it started when he was at Michigan State in honor of his dad. And had it, at LSU, had it with the Dolphins. But when you spend 17 years in a place the way he has here, you watch it really grow. And I had the information sheet, and I guess I left it in my car in a hurry to get up here. But just all the things that they have provided, all of the Habitat for Humanity homes that they've been a part of, and gosh, I wish I'd brought that information sheet in. But anyway, that luncheon was yesterday, and just an incredible day, and so much good stuff with that and what he's doing. Some other headlines, the Austin Dillon, Matt and I kind of pegged it yesterday when Matt was on for the NASCAR segment. We said we thought that when all was said and done that they would let him keep the victory, but they probably would penalize him in regards to the points, and that's exactly what they did. NASCAR said you can keep the win, you get to keep the first place prize, you get, you had the victory lane for your sponsors, but, and this is a huge but, you don't get the points. You don't move up from 32nd into the top 16. You don't clinch a spot in the playoff. As you can imagine, the reaction from those around NASCAR was swift. A lot of the drivers seemed in favor of it. Obviously, Denny Hamlin came out in favor of it. We didn't hear from Joey Logano, but you know that he was. You can imagine it was a different feeling at Richard Childress Racing. And they immediately put out a statement that said, Richard Childress Racing is very disappointed in NASCAR's penalty against the number 3 team. We do not agree with the decision that was made and plan to appeal. So, in addition to that, the spotter was suspended 3 races because you could hear the spotter on the radio saying, wreck him. And Joey Logano got his team, the 22 team, got a $50,000 fine because he was upset. He came through pit road. Now, there are a lot of people that were standing out there on pit road that probably shouldn't have been right after a race with the 3 team, including Austin Dillon's wife. She was holding a baby. There were some other people, Johnny Morris, the big sponsor from Bass Pro Shops, and Joey pulled right in front of the pit. And if you see his in-car camera, he wasn't that far away from people. And he revved his engine and smoked his tires and did a burnout in disgust right in front of that pit stall. That garnered a $50,000 fine and probably should have. So NASCAR coming down hard on those involved in that incident on Sunday night at Richmond. NFL news, it looks like that Jahmyr Gibbs' injury is not bad, but J.J. McCarthy, Wyatt, did you see that? I mean, that's what we've talked about with injuries. It's very, very unfortunate, but it happens. It's football. And the overreaction to injuries, I hate to say this, is just, I think we're overcompensating with the rules. Now they're going to let the NFL wear the Guardian cap over the helmet. Like it or not, injuries are going to occur. I think you're better off just going forward, and when an injury happens, you're disappointed, you're devastated for the Vikings because J.J. McCarthy, the rookie quarterback, I think he's going to be a star in this league. And now they're saying, now, it's a long season. The Vikings put out that he's going to have season-ending surgery for a meniscus tear, and that's probably what will happen. But, what if he's a fast healer? What if after 10, 12 weeks, he's making progress? Who's to say? Well, they said he wouldn't. They said a season ending, but you never know. I've seen some of these guys, young and in shape, come back faster than others.
Christian and Terrell got hurt against Florida State. They said it was season ending. They both played in the Iron Bowl that year.
Yeah, there you go. So that's right. So you have examples. So we'll see, but the Vikings at least said it's season ending surgery. So, man, anyway, you hate to hear that. But again, injuries are part of it, and I still think you have to keep playing football. And what I mean by that is you have to keep playing football the way that football has always been played and do the best you can to stay healthy and keep people safe, but you got to let them play. And I think some of this, as I said before, I think there's just so much paranoia about injuries. Coaches are thinking so much about it, particularly in these preseason games, that it's almost like, I don't know that people are turning it loose maybe the way that they need to. But anyway, 13 minutes after the hour of 9 o'clock, wide open in the next segment for phone calls. If you want to give us a ring, 205-342-9904 is the number on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline. This hour being brought to you by Alabama Credit Union. We've got Ellis Johnson coming up at 9:30. And in the next segment, if we get some calls, we'll take them. If not, we're going to get to some audio that we've got from yesterday with either Nick Sheridan or Nick Saban. So we'll be back on the Gary Harris Show. Keep it dialed in to Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC, your home for Alabama sports.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans.
Discover better living at First and Main. Visit firstandmaincondos.com or call 205-657-7465. Mention you heard about us on the radio and receive 1 month free rent.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch soup, salad, or sandwich combo. I'll see you at the Free.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. The chance of a few isolated showers through tonight. The high today 93. Tonight's low 74. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds. A chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms by afternoon. The high 92. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
You're listening to the Gary Harris Show. On your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
(9:17). Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. We're going to get to rolling out on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline in just a second, but I ran downstairs to my car and got the Knicks kids information sheet. Just to give you an idea again, yesterday the Sabans distributed over $625,000 to over 100 organizations. In the time since Nick and Terry Saban came to Tuscaloosa, the Nick Kids Foundation has donated nearly $13 million to many deserving organizations and causes. You don't think that's changed some lives? I mean, think about that. I mean, I know I'm really focused on this because we want to look at wins and losses and the 6 national championships and the 9 SEC titles. This is making a difference, man, in the communities in this state. And Nick's Kids projects include the Saban Center, a legacy project that will elevate education on one campus in Tuscaloosa. Nick's Kids has pledged $2 million, along with a personal pledge from Nick and Terry Saban of $3 million. $3 million out of their own bank account to this initiative. Of course, the Habitat for Humanity home building project we know about, the Nick's Kids playgrounds. This is just unbelievable what all they've done. If you'd like to help with Nick's Kids and get involved to make a monetary donation, Go to www.nickskidsfoundation.org and get involved, man. Because hey, listen, he may not be coaching anymore, but he is still going to be, he and Miss Terry, working with Nick's kids to change lives. All right, let's jump out on the Pinnacle Park and North River Hotline and welcome in Roland from over there at beautiful Lake Gunnersville. What's up, Roland?
Just enjoying the good weather out here.
Yes, sir. You better believe it.
Gorgeous.
See the Eagles this morning?
Not this morning. We see some fly over the little lake sometimes. But,
yeah.
We live by, but I hadn't seen none this morning. Okay. But it is amazing to see them. There's some nest down by the park there. It's got up on top of the telephone pole. It's been there for several years, but yeah, they're amazing. Gary, I just get amazed at listening to some of these national sports writers. Kind of right off Alabama. I mean, this is still a very talented team, and just about every position. I mean, they probably got some of the same problems every other team got when it comes to depth and all that. But, I think Feinbaum yesterday said that Texas and Georgia had a chance to win a national championship. Alabama didn't have a chance because they weren't as talented. And I'm just, like I said, I'm just amazed. I mean, you look at it, and Alabama probably had more people picked the SEC preseason team than anybody, and and probably still got as many or more 5-stars on the roster than anybody. And this is still, like I say, a very talented roster. I mean, I look at it, I'm just amazed, and I think the only question, and I don't think the question is, how DeBoer handles all this talent and all that, but I think he's put together a heck of a coaching staff, and I think DeBoer's the real deal. I really do. And for some of these guys to, say stuff like that, I just don't understand it.
All right, Roland, let me help you out a little bit here. Again, there's Alabama fatigue. Unless you're an Alabama fan, you are tired of Alabama. It's just like, and I know what you're saying. I hear it too on the national shows. Wyatt may feel differently. I'm going to get to our friend Alf, who called in Wyatt's show yesterday and is probably listening right now. His comments yesterday, but give Georgia credit, but when this blanket statement is made that Georgia is now the standard in college football, I don't agree with that. Alabama won a national championship as recently as 2020. They played for one in 2021. They made the playoff last year. They've won 2 SEC titles since Georgia has won an SEC title. And I still think Alabama is the gold standard. But I'm in the minority there. People around the country are going to say it's Georgia. The feeling about Alabama's talent level, and Wyatt may want to chime in because he took the call, but I heard Alf on Wyatt's show yesterday, and I texted him afterwards. I said, where did you come up with this? I understand saying maybe Alabama's not what they were in 2011, 2016, 2020, but 2007? I was here in 2007, Alf. Let me tell you, that roster that Nick Saban inherited, there's nothing in common in 2007 with this roster in 2024. 2007, there were guys out there that looked like me. I mean, you had guys running around out there that couldn't, half that roster probably wasn't SEC caliber. I'm sorry, but that's the truth. In the spring of 2008, there wasn't a single player drafted from the University of Alabama. Now, if there's not a first rounder, you're upset. In 2008, nobody. The entire team was drafted in the National Football League. So this narrative that somehow Alabama's fallen off the map, I don't know where it comes from. And I'll say, the way I'll put it is this. I hear some people saying, well, if Alabama makes the college football playoff, man, what an accomplishment. If Alabama doesn't make the college football playoff, it's going to be a disaster. If you're dominating the college football playoff when there's 4 teams and you were a staple in the BCS championship game when there were 2, and you can't make it when there are 12 after you just went 12-2 the year before and won the SEC championship and played in the college football playoff semifinal at the Rose Bowl? I ain't buying it. I think Alabama, if Alabama's not in the college football playoff, that's a disaster the way that I see it. And to sit here and say anything else, if you follow Alabama football, to me, is disingenuous. That is the expectation. Now, Wyatt, I'm talking about your show, so if you want to chime in, you can You're not looking too optimistic about it. I'm not saying they're going to win the national championship. I don't know who's going to win the national championship. But my expectation is that Alabama will be in the college football playoff.
Yeah, and I kind of directed the conversation a little bit differently as well after that. I said, this may be the most anticipated season since 2007 just because of the coaching change.
That's fair.
But the roster is nowhere near the same. I mean, you've got questions at certain spots, but I mean, Alabama didn't have a Jalen Milroe-esque or, level player when Nick Saban got here. And now they've got guys who are of that caliber. They've got, all the talent in the world. If they can stay healthy, my expectation is a college football playoff.
Here's the difference. Kalen DeBoer inherited a program that has been stacking number 1 rated, number 2 rated, number 3 rated recruiting classes. Nick Saban inherited a program. It wasn't all Mike Shula's fault, but these were recruiting classes that were ranked 25 or 22. So, Roland, your point's well taken. This is a talented team. This is a team that should be in the college football playoff. I'm with you.
I agree with you. No disrespect with Georgia. Georgia's got a great program and all that, but last time I looked, they've got 1 win against Alabama in the last, 7 or 8, 9 games?
Yeah, 1 win. Kirby's got 1 win over the last win outside of that national championship game was 2007 in Nick Saban's first season when they won over here in Tuscaloosa. So it's been a nice run for Alabama against Georgia. There's no doubt about it.
Keep hearing these guys say that. You're right. It's just people turn of Alabama. But any knowledgeable person, I know we sometimes look at it through crimson-colored glasses, but if you're a knowledgeable football person, you can look on this roster and just see the talent. I mean, look at all the
it's talented. Now, you still have to go out and get it done. And I will agree that the portal Alabama took a hit in the portal. But, I still think this is a top 5 roster in college football. And if you're a top 5 roster, you should be in the college football playoff. I have no problem with Alabama being picked 5th. I think Alabama may finish higher than that, but those schools ahead of them, Georgia and Ohio State and Oregon and Texas are really good teams. But I think Alabama's a college football playoff team, and if they're not in the playoff, it's going to be a disappointing season. Hey, great call, Ron. I'm going to get to Tom.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, my friend. All right, let's before we hit the break, let's get to Tom. Hey, Tom.
Hi, Gary. Good morning. How are you?
Well.
Roland, let me tell you something. First of all, you cannot take anybody serious that looks like they're a descendant from Kermit the Frog. That's first.
You're talking about Alf, I guess.
No, I'm not talking about Alf. I'm talking about Feinbaum.
Oh, okay.
And Roland, don't take him serious. He's a clickbait artist. That's all he is. And he's never accurate. Don't go by what he said. He's never been right about anything. Now, second point is, everybody wants to be the first one to say, I told you back in August. Alabama wasn't what they used to be, and everybody wants to be the first one to say that. That's the first one. And then you got a 35% of the ones that's doing all the talking, and that's the one they're hoping Alabama's not. They want to see Alabama fall. And so that's the makeup right there, Roland. You cannot go by. You got to go by what you know and what you see. Look at the history of Alabama and then go with that.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Tom. As I've said before, I still haven't done my game-by-game predictions yet. I'm going to do it. It's scary right now because I'm looking at that schedule and just saying I think Alabama can manage it. Although the game at Tennessee and the game at LSU are big, but I'm really high on this team. I'm bullish on Alabama, big time. I think this offense, as I've said before, is going to be elite. Do I think there'll be some growing pains for the defense? I do. I think that young secondary, I think Western Kentucky with TJ Finley might go for, 250, 300 yards in that first game. So I think there might be some growing pains there. But this offense, I think, will be elite. And I think this defense over time, the defense we're watching at game number 6 in the season won't be the same defense we were watching at game number 1. They're going to get better.
I'm going to tell you something, Gary.
Okay.
If Alabama beats Georgia, if they undefeated and they beat Georgia, he's going to make a lot of these naysayers blank, if you would, crap in their pants.
Oh, there's no doubt. Listen, all the people that are trying to predict Alabama's demise are counting on one thing, and that's the University of Georgia Bulldogs rolling in here and laying a whipping on Alabama. I guarantee that's what they're counting on. And if they do not, if Alabama wins that game and Alabama wins at Wisconsin and Alabama's sitting there at 4-0, and you got to figure, if you're 4-0 and you just beat Georgia, then you're going to be in the top 3 in the country.
I'll tell you what happened then. They'll move them up to number 1, and then the hopers will start saying, well, if they're number 1, everybody will play a better game against them, and then maybe that'll help get them beat. I'm telling you, I know this game better than anybody.
I hear you. Tom, there. He's getting off that last statement. He mentioned, Tom, you still there?
Yeah, I am.
When you said I know this game better than anybody, you mentioned the Feinbaum show. You kind of reminded me of a famous caller on Feinbaum with that comment.
Who?
I don't like to say his name anymore because he quit calling my show. But
Jim.
Yeah.
Oh, come on,
well,
Jerry.
That's the kind of comment he would make. I mean, I know this game better than anybody.
But if the comment is true, Gary, it's just true.
Well, that's exactly what he would have said. So that's a good way to end it, Tom. I hear you, my friend.
All right, buddy.
All right, bye. Yeah. Quick, funny story on Jim. He used to call Tider Insider TV just about every week, and there was a week that he called, and we had him on hold during the commercial break, and I guess you could hear us talking, and there was something that we said, Rodney or I said, that he didn't like, and he called me up after the show and said he would never call back, and he didn't. Unlike that other show where he always says he's not going to call back, and he always calls back. He never called back on TITV again. And he used to call in on my radio show some, too. So if Jim's listening, you're always welcome here. I don't know what's going on with the show that you are so tied into, but if you ever want to call my show, you're welcome. All right, it's 9:30. We'll get to the break. We'll come back with Coach Ellis Johnson next here, right here on the Gary Harris Show on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC.
Weekday mornings at 6 a.m. The Martin Houston Show.
Join the Martin Houston Show for a Friday edition of the program. It'll be a free-for-all Friday. We'll continue to break down Alabama football. And also want to remind you that tonight you can catch the high school football show. The West Alabama High School Pigskin Preview airs tonight at 7 o'clock. We'll be doing a preview show of all of the schools that we'll be covering throughout the 2024 season. Those conversations and more right here on Tide.
You can prioritize your family's health and make a game plan for COVID-19 vaccination. Ask your doctor or pharmacist to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa at Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after-hours events, rehearsal dinners, receptions, and birthdays. They offer brunch and lunch catering. Call Brick and Spoon at 205-345-5551 for more information.
The best station in the state, breaking down Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:34. Welcome back into the Gary Harris Show, and it's time for the Coach Ellis Johnson for his weekly visit with us on college football. Good morning, Ellis. How you doing?
Good morning, Gary. How you doing?
Doing great, man. I got some good feedback on our segment last week on the 425, and in fact, I got several messages from people, and I don't mind doing this once we get into the season. I'll get into more of a rhythm as far as games and, picking games, but since we're still in fall camp, I'm going to pass along a couple of these comments that I received on your segment, and people want me to ask you some questions. And I said, well, why not? One of them is, I'd like to hear Coach talk about progressing through camp and how you deal with balancing working players hard enough but not overworking them, just how coaches gauge that and deal with it. I think that's a pretty good question because we're kind of been through a scrimmage now, got kind of for most of these schools, the final scrimmage coming up, and then we're kind of getting into, game mode. So how did you deal with that when you were coaching to kind of bring, guys through camp, going through the different stages, repping a bunch of players, trying to narrow it down and kind of get ready for a game?
Well, it is a great question, Gary. It may have come from somebody who played the game about 15 or 20 years ago. I will tell everybody that's listening, it is very different today than it was even 15 years ago and certainly 30 years ago. The question being asked was extremely important 30 years ago.
Right.
Because teams came in and everybody went twice a day. Some guys even went 3 times a day. They had a special team practice in the middle. I mean, it just one of the most important things you had to do was know when to pull back. Because if you didn't watch it, you'd take your football team into that first game and they wouldn't be recovered. They'd be leg weary or dehydrated or whatever. But it's just so much different now. Number one, the players hardly ever leave the campus the whole year round. And they're under the supervision of the trainers and the strength coaches so much more than we were way back in the day. And the other thing is they limited how many times you can practice twice a day, almost none in preseason now. And it looked like it was going to be ridiculous when we first saw the rules coming down the pipe. But after we've experienced it, and then they allowed us a lot more meeting time and walk-through time and that type of thing, I think it's been a good change. So it is still something you have to be aware of, especially with players that get banged up in a scrimmage, whether to hold them out or let them go back in. You're always working with your 2 deep, seeing who you can identify with that. So you want to have these good scrimmages, but you can't really go too close to first game or you could a kid hurt that won't get back to that opener. So that's probably the most important thing is I think people have moved that last scrimmage back a little bit closer and giving them a little more recovery time before they play that first game.
All right, here's another one, and I like this one a lot because I was probably going to ask it myself, but I had a message on social media. Would you ask Ellis how does he expect defensive players to be good at tackling when they don't tackle?
Great question. And you know, one of the other big factors of that is the game is more spread out now, Gary.
Mm-hmm.
It's a speed game. Again, I talk about 15 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever. It's been like this now for about 15 or 20 years. But it's, everybody's 3 wide, 4 wide. And you say, what's that got to do with tackling? Well, it's obviously harder to tackle somebody in space than it is coming up through the hole in the offensive line. Now, back when we played, it was more about banging and how well you wrapped up and drove your legs through and all this. And it was still important. It was important then, and it is still important to a degree. But the biggest thing now is simply making sure you got great angles to the ball and that you're somewhat under control before you try to make contact in the open field. You can't go for the kill shot every time because you're not going to be able to hit these guys when they've got space to wiggle. But it is hard to practice, and the other thing is kind of goes back to the previous question. You don't like tackling your own guys too much because eventually one of them gets hurt. And, high school you can have scrimmages. The pros have exhibition games. Colleges have to hit their own players. It's one of those necessary evils, but it is hard. There's some contraptions and some equipment that people have come out with over time, to maybe teach through tackling techniques, but it's nothing like tackling a live body. One of the most recent, I would say, is it's a huge donut dummy that you can roll across the field, and it makes players have to tackle something moving on an angle. But all you're getting out of that is a proper angle to the ball and making contact on the dummy. It's just not the same as trying to tackle one of these athletes in the open field.
All right. We appreciate the input from some of our listeners there and a couple of good questions I want to pass along to Coach. All right. Coach Ellis Johnson with us. Let's dive into something that Kirby Smart said. And I think all coaches are feeling it. He was talking this week about how, they've always recruited high school players, developmental program, developed guys, kept them in the program. And, I've always had a lot of depth and always had the kind of roster that he wants to put together. He said now it's being impacted by the portal. No doubt about it. And your depth. And it's just not the same. And I guess it's this way for everybody. From a coaching standpoint, I know coaches are dealing with a lot of different things, but I think I get the feeling one of the most frustrating things is just, the process you go through to recruit a guy, sign him, get him here with the expectation that, over time he's going to develop as a football player. Now a lot of these guys don't want to be developed. I mean, they get here, and if they don't play right away, they're out of here. And even the top programs are feeling the sting of that, Coach.
Absolutely. And the reason Kirby's such a wise coach is he and I have the same birthday, Gary. So that's the biggest reason he knows so much football. But on a serious note, I don't know. I haven't been involved in it since the portal started. Transferring was always alive, but it wasn't like the portal. I think there's some things they could do to slow all that down, but that's not really the question you're asking. Is how do you work with it? And I think one of the things, and Coach Saban's probably as good an example as any, as things change in college football, you may or may not like the change, but you got to adapt, or you're going to get, you're going to get caught in the backwash. So it is frustrating to a lot of coaches because they played the game and they've coached the game, and one of the greatest rewards in coaching kids is watching them improve. And the other thing I talked about the other day, and it sounds sort of Pollyanna, but when I look back on my 45 years, the thing I remember most was not the paychecks or even the coaching relationships. It was some of the players that you get real close to in recruiting and coaching them for 4 to 5 years, and their relationships that you never lose. I still stay in touch with a lot of these guys, whether they're in pro ball or not, and I can tell by the way they talk to me that relationship was very important to them. I think we're going to lose a lot of that. And people like that can say, well, that's no big deal. If they get $500,000, it's worth more than that. I don't know if it is or not 10 years down the road. We may find out that what we're doing now in this whole NIL portal thing is we're damaging young people. And I'm afraid we're going to see some bad results with it. It just hasn't come to light yet.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Another thing that the modern game does, and I know the coaches are making a ton of money, and good for them, but not just the head coaches. Now, coordinators, assistant coaches making really healthy livings based on the kind of money that they're making. But the pressure that goes with that, we talk about players developing, head coaches don't necessarily have the time to develop. You take a job anywhere in this league, and there's pressure to win. And you look at the situation that Billy Napier is coaching under this year at Florida, and there are others. 50 years ago, 40 years ago, sometimes you could be hired, and especially if you came into a program that was losing, and there was an understanding that it was going to take some time, and you were given that opportunity. And coaches don't get that anymore. I mean, yeah, they're making a lot of money, but can you speak to the pressure, what that must be like to take a job and know in the SEC that you probably have about 3 years to get it going, and if you don't, they're going to be looking somewhere else more times than not.
Yep, it is. It's that type of environment now. And I think social media and the level of the money and all that goes along to create this situation, but I had an example like that in my situation at Southern Miss, and I walked into a program that was not in great shape. I knew we were going to struggle a little bit early. Didn't know we wouldn't win a game, but we had some administration issues too that a lot of people never knew about. It was a cancer. And, the guy just said, hey, for 1 year, he said, we're going to make a change unless you fire 3 people. And I said, fire 3? And the 3 names you gave me, I'm not going to name them. 2 of them have been successful coaches for 25 years in college football. This guy had been an AD for 4 months. So that not to get off on my tangent, but you're exactly right. And that's part of the other thing I don't like about it. Again, it's not a situation where you have a chance to develop and build relationships and build a staff and this type of thing. And I understand it to a degree. Sometimes, Gary, the problem is if you don't have something positive happen early, and whether you got to win 9 games or not, but it starts to snowball on recruiting. But I feel like if somebody's going to get fired, they first need to look and see how well they recruited. And if there's some positives there, then it tells you they're going to be able to pull it out of the ditch. And then all this hasty pulling the plug on people, I think they destroy the program, and it has a 4 and 5 year effect when you keep changing coaches.
Yeah, I agree 100%. when you look around this league, storylines everywhere, but obviously right here in Tuscaloosa, there's a huge storyline. After 17 years, Nick Saban retired and a new coach had to be hired. And so far, from my perspective, covering the guy, he's done, talking about Kalen DeBoer, he's hit the ball out of the park. Now, he hadn't coached a game yet. That's the bottom line. But so far, to me, you couldn't ask a guy to do a better job to this point than he's done. But to what we were talking about, if something happens, you go up there in week 3 and you get upset on the road at Wisconsin, then you come home after bye and you lose at home at Georgia, and you're sitting here 2-2. You know what it's going to be like. You've been here. You coached here twice. You know it's going to get nasty. All the positives right now that people are talking about with the music at practice and having the social media celebrities at practice and the open media policy and all that. It's a positive now until you lose a couple of games. And I think Alabama's going to have a really good team, but for Coach DeBoer, the experience you had here, I've always said, man, college football is important everywhere, but in Alabama, it's just, it's different. And you don't know what it's like until you experience it. And you probably don't really know what it's like, do you, Coach, until you lose a game as a coach here at Alabama, right?
Absolutely. That's a great way to put it. I think that he's done a great job, too. I'm obviously not in the center of it as you are. From the outside, though, it looks like he's handled things extremely well. I didn't know about some of the particulars and little changes and things like that. When Coach Bryant left, everything that Ray Perkins and Bill Curry tried to change, everybody said it was wrong, can't do that differently, just because that's the way Coach Bryant did it. And those are type things that eventually start dragging on the program, and people may think they're helping, but they're not. They're actually being part of the problem. But I think he has done a great job, too. A lot of folks have said, this isn't going to work. He's not from Alabama. He's never been in the Southeast, this, that, and the other. He hadn't coached major Power 5 ball long enough. I think he looks like he's done a great job to me. What I think, he's got a returning starting quarterback and enough good football players, and he's done a good job in the portal. I think they're going to be good this year. I think the test is going to be that 2 or 3 year time, and whether he utilizes the portal or he continues to have top 3 classes, that will be the telltale as whether it's going to be a long-term thing. I think they'll be good enough this year that it'll calm the dogs, and everybody will be, well, hey, let's wait, let's keep going. Maybe win 9, maybe win 10, but go to a great bowl game. The next recruiting class and next year, I think, is going to really tell the story. But like you said, I remember one time when I was there with Coach Stallings. And at the time, we had just turned it on Tennessee, and we were starting to take that series over. But they had beaten Alabama, I think, like 4 or 5 in a row. And Auburn, we were doing better against Auburn. After that second or third year, the environment around there during the Tennessee week was so much noise and clamor and all that. And I told Dubose, I said, Mike, it seems like to me this Tennessee game is bigger than the Auburn game. He said, Eli, you've never lost the Auburn game before. And I said, yeah, you're right. Sure enough, 2 years later, we lost that game, and I found out which one was important.
Yeah, it's different here. All right, we're getting up against the clock a little bit, but just going around the league, and as I said, once we get in the season, we're going to start looking at. But you're there in South Carolina, and you're close to that program still. And Shane Beamer, this is another example of kind of where you're at. He came in buzzing, got everybody pumped up, excited. We remember the Mayonnaise Bowl, and man, you're just thinking then last year, the reality of this league is you have some success, and it's tougher because people start looking at you differently, and it wasn't the season that they had hoped for. Now you're looking to bounce back. What's the situation there? What's the confidence that the fans have in Shane Beamer, and what do you think that program's headed this season?
Well, I think the fans are still on board, and I think they're, sort of just like what you just said. They feel like he's pushing all the right buttons and doing a great job, but they're looking at the reality of what the conference is now. And I just, he did a good job in the portal, but I don't think he did the kind of job that maybe Lane Kiffin did for comparison. They did a great job recruiting, had a top 20 class, but when you look on the top 10 classes, there's about 8 of them are in the SEC. So it's just more than a critique of Shane. It's going to be whether the University of South Carolina administration or whomever they ready to really get involved in this? And if they are, they're going to have to make a little bit stronger commitment financially. And I know they don't have the kind of money that a Texas A&M or a Texas does, sitting over in the money boxes, but they've got money. And they've got to decide where they're going to spend it if they're going to hang around that conference, because it's so brutal. And I think very shortly, you may disagree, but I think very shortly it will be a 9-conference game schedule, and then it's going to even get tougher.
Mm-hmm. They
can schedule, they've always got to play Clemson, and Clemson may as well be an SEC team. But that's a good rival game, but that's one they're going to be 50-50 at best. They can schedule 3 bowl wins now. They won't be able to do that if they go to a 9-game schedule with SEC. And I think then it even gets harder. So, it's a wait-and-see thing for sure. And got a lot of new faces. I think they got 40 people, counting signing class and portal, that are coming in that program. And I'm not saying it's not good, because maybe you had to get better players. But if you've got that kind of inflow every time, I don't see how you have a consistent program year after year.
And lastly, not in the SEC, but there's Clemson and Dabo and the questions of, 2 national championships are 2 national championships. And I know you know him very, very well, and it's not like they're terrible, but the perception is they've slipped a little bit, and then his unwillingness to use the portal, some of the comments he's made about how he's going to continue to run his program, and a lot of people are saying, well, that's outdated now. We're talking about you got to evolve, and people are questioning whether he's evolving. It looks like they're going to have a pretty good football team. What do you see from Clemson? I've always said, kind of like Kentucky in the SEC. Now everybody wants to win in basketball now, and but this was once true. Kentucky was a basketball school and a football league. Clemson's kind of a football school in what's traditionally been a basketball league. But when you look at Clemson, do you see a team this year that out of the ACC could make the playoff and contend for the national championship, or are they taking a step back?
Well, full disclosure, Gary, I'm sitting in the parking lot outside Death Valley right now. My son's on the team. I'm watching scrimmage here in about 15 minutes.
There you go.
You've hit a lot of things on the head. I probably can't address them all in the time we have, but I think you're right on every bit of it. He's still committed not to get wholesale into the portal, but I do think he's going to start maybe cherry picking a little bit soon. The other thing I think is that they've got a returning starting quarterback. I've seen one scrimmage. He was much more consistent. He's going to have to be, because if he doesn't stop some of these critical turnovers, they're not good enough on defense this year to carry the football team like they have in recent years. Defense is good. They don't have the guys up front. They're not as deep, and they're not nearly as talented in front as they have been, but they've still got really good players. So I think they're going to be better overall as a football team this year, but I don't think they're going to dominate the ACC like they have. They've got NC State at home after an open date. They should get that one done. They've got to go to Florida State, and that's going to be the key game. Now, if they stump their toe like they did at Duke last year and turn the ball over 3 times inside the 10 and do some things like that, it's going to be even worse. But I think if they can eliminate the turnovers they had last year, they're going to be right there in the thick of it, and they're going to have to beat Florida State on the road probably to win the ACC.
Great stuff, Coach. We appreciate you. Enjoy the scrimmage there at Clemson, and we'll talk to you again a week from today.
Sounds great, Gary.
All right, Coach Ellis Johnson with us on the Gary Harris Show. Hey, the YMCA of Tuscaloosa, the Y is ready when you're ready for the Y, and right now is a great time to join. Why? Because they're running a special no joining fee beginning today through September the 30th. That's a month and a half that you can join the Y with no joining fee. Man, get on down there and take advantage of this. And also 10% off all new personal training packages through September 30th. I've told you before, I'm a big proponent of personal training. Get 10% off any personal training package that you sign up with right now through September 30th at the YMCA of Tuscaloosa, 2300 13th Street downtown. The Y is ready for you when you're ready for the Y. We'll be back after this.
Coming up on The Game with Ryan Fowler.
Coming up on the Thursday edition of The Game, we're going to feature Rodney Orr at TiderInsiders.com. We're going to take your reaction as Alabama one day closer to scrimmage number 2 on the campus of the University of Alabama. We're going to preview that and a lot more starting at 2 p.m. here on The Game on Tide 100.9, 1230. WTBC, your home of Alabama Crimson Tide sports.
The longest running sports program in Tuscaloosa. The Game with Ryan Fowler. Weekdays from 2 to 6 p.m. on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a tee time at the Tuscaloosa Championship Golf Course. Everyone can play. 205-562-3201. Old Colony is operated by Para. Los Tarascos has been serving Mexican favorites like burritos, fajitas, and quesadillas since 1999. Their new location is at 4100 Owen Parkway in Northport. And of course, you can find Los Tarascos in Tuscaloosa at 110 Skyland Boulevard. The bar areas feature big screen television so you can enjoy your favorite sporting events. Los Tarascos features daily happy hour.
No matter how high the mercury rises, call Ox Home Services today at 205-979-0946 or visit OxHomeServices.com.
Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions in both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside on the beautiful patio. Come by and say hello to Kim and Lisa, the Billy's Management Dream Team. Billy's, good food, good friends, and good time.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. The chance of a few isolated showers through tonight. The high today 93. Tonight's low 74. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds. A chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms by afternoon. The high 92. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Covering University of Alabama sports, as well as the national and local scene as well. The Gary Harris Show, only on Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 9:57, perfect timing to go ahead and wrap up this first hour of the Gary Harris Show. It's been brought to you by Alabama Credit Union, member-owned and not-for-profit. It's just a better way of banking. Jam-packed hour number 2 coming up as well. Kristen Jones, new head football coach at Paul W. Bryant High School, former Alabama wide receiver standout, kick returner, played in the NFL, played in the CFL, and now he's got his first head coaching job at Paul W. Bryant High School. And Jeff Spiegel from ABC 3340 with us at 10:30. So the second hour is jam-packed.
Now through December 28th, Castrol Edge and Edge High Mileage Motor Oil are on rollback at Walmart.
Claim based on sequence dyne test under high-load conditions versus API-SP test limits.
WTBC Tuscaloosa and W265CG Tuscaloosa, a Town Square media station. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
From the Fox Sports Studios in Los Angeles, here's Nick Cope.
The U.S. men's national team has its next manager. Reports say Mauricio Pochettino, the former manager of Chelsea, PSG, and Tottenham, will come to the U.S. to lead the team into the 2026 World Cup. In the NFL, the Patriots have traded Pro Bowl pass rusher Matt Judon to the Falcons in exchange for a third-round pick in 2025. Judon had been seeking a long-term deal from New England. The Commanders signed quarterback Trace McSorley. In baseball, Aaron Judge hit his 300th career home run in a 10-2 Yankee win over the White Sox. Judge is the fastest player to 300 big flies, doing so in 955 games. Orioles beat the Nationals 4-1. Baltimore remains a half game back of New York in the AL East race. Brewers edged the Dodgers 5-4. Both the D-backs and Padres won, trimming LA's lead atop the NL West to just 2.5 games.
Now, this hour's West Alabama real-time news update from the Tuscaloosa Thread Newsroom.
Northport has recorded Tuscaloosa County's 23rd homicide of the year, just 3 short of the record of 26. A man died from a shooting in the 3700 block of 17th Street earlier this morning. It's the beginning of Alabama's wildfire season, and 2 of 8 are burning in West Alabama. A 20-acre blaze near Moundville, a 15-acre one in northwest Walker County. We could get some badly needed rain over the next couple of days, but it comes with a marginal risk for strong to severe thunderstorms tomorrow afternoon through the early evening from Tuscaloosa northward.
Get 24/7 local news coverage and sports updates when you download the free Tuscaloosa Thread app and sign up for twice daily email newsletters. The Gary Harris Show. UCM host Tider Insider TV. Crimson Tide Kickoff. Play-by-play for Alabama sports and sports director for WVUA 23. It's time for the Gary Harris Show on your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, here we go. Hour number 2 of the Gary Harris Show. I'm Gary Harris. Wyatt Fulton right here on the other side of the glass. Manning the controls, taking your phone calls on the Pinnacle Park at North River Hotline, 205-342-9904. Jeff Spiegel coming up at 10:30 this morning. But right now we're going to lead off the second hour with the brand new head football coach at Paul W. Bryant High School here in Tuscaloosa, Christian Jones. I think it's fitting that a former Alabama player is now the head coach at Paul W. Bryant High School. Obviously, Christian played years after Coach Bryant, but still, I think that's kind of ironic. Good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good morning, man. I'm doing very well. How you guys?
Doing great, man. Good to have you. It wasn't that long ago you were thrilling us as a wide receiver and great special teams kick returner and punt returner for Nick Saban at Alabama. Professional career with the NFL and the CFL, and now into coaching. And it's you know, you're right there with DeMario Pippin at Central as an assistant and coaching track and field. And next thing you know, John McKenzie leaves Paul Bryant to go to Viger. You get the call, and now you're a head coach. It kind of happened fast. I mean, it's tough enough getting a team prepared in high school football when you have a spring and you have summer conditioning and you go in with a plan. All of a sudden, to just be thrust into the role of head coach of the Stampede, how big a challenge has that been so far for you?
Oh, it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge that I'm very eager and very enthused about accepting and taking on. This is a job that everyone, even myself, when I first originally got offered this position, thought about the time and wasn't right. But what other time do you get offered to be a head coach that at a school like this and being able to impact this community in such a powerful way? So we're hitting this thing head on. We got some great coaches on this coaching staff who also are running around like their heads on fire trying to make sure that we get everything done that we need to get done to be prepared for the 23rd.
When you come in like this, and you've had a program in place from another coach who's, you know, going into his second season, and even though they just won 3 games last year, there was a positive vibe surrounding Paul Bryant football. And then he leaves and you come in. Are you running his system? Are you bringing your own system? How difficult is that, merging a coaching staff and systems and trying to get ready to play a game here a week from Friday night?
Well, to be quite honest with you, we're critiquing his system. We're doing things that I like to do based off their system. I think we had to make some wise decisions in terms of that fact, of what type of system we were going to run. And I think we have a foundation, and I appreciate John McKenzie for what he's done and the foundation he did set last year for this program. So what we're doing, we're just basically critiquing, taking things out, adding things on, changing little small things, whether it's communication, whether it's understanding or changing the way we do things here. But it's fitting for the kids, and that was the key thing that I had to make a decision based on, not so much based off the coaches, but more so what was going to benefit the kids. And I think we're off to a great start.
Your year with DeMario over there at Central, of course, I've covered DeMario from the time he played at Central as a great running back and have known him a long time. But you guys were really making positive steps there with the Falcons program. That 1 year with him, how has that helped you as a coach?
It was awesome. I appreciate it. I actually just got off the phone with DeMario last night. We was just talking ball and talking organizational things as a head coach, and he's always lended a hand. He's always helped and encouraged and sort of gave me the wiggle room to be the next man up in terms of his program. You know, I was the number 2 coach there whenever he needed to step out or had an emergency. I was the next guy up in terms of running that organization. And one thing about it, we are both the same in terms of organizing and making sure things are detailed up so that everybody's on the same page. So I think coming over to this staff, the number one thing that I did was have a meeting with my staff and let everybody know their responsibilities. And I think once you do that, once you make sure everybody knows when they step into the building what's expected and what's the standard, you can sort of flow knowing and understanding and building some trust with your coaching staff that they're going to do their job.
Coach Christian Jones with us, Paul W. Bryant High School. You're a product of Alabama high school football. You were a great player at Minor High School. You know how important it is in this state. And I like to say that Class 6A Region 4 is one of my favorite regions in the state because geography-wise, man, it's just there's so many good rivalries. Even though we lose Hillcrest to Class 7A, still, as the coach of Paul Bryant, you know, you're going to get to play Northridge and Central and Brookwood. And even the Birmingham area schools aren't that far away with Bessemer City, Hueytown, and McAdory. This is a fun region, but it's also a very competitive region. Just your thoughts on the challenge of trying to finish in that top 4 to get a state playoff berth.
Oh, man, we understand this region. Like you said, I'm a Minor native. I come from Minor High School. I'm very familiar with this region. I was in this region when I was actually coaching 2 years ago at Minor High School. So I'm very familiar with what's at stake. But more so for our guys, we're just focusing on the 23rd. And we're going to let the chips fall the way they fall. What we're trying to get our kids to do is go out and compete and allow the coaches to focus on the scoreboard. And all they got to do is focus on the next play and dominate their space. We understand what's at stake as coaches in terms of our region and how tough it is and the awesome defenses and offenses that we're going to face. But we also have a time to impact even ourselves in terms of empowering our kids to understand that doing their job and their job only is going to impact each and every play that we have, whether it's special teams, offense, or defense. So I just want our guys to not even look down the road. You know, they're big on, you know, playing Central. And I think the first 3 games of my first head coaching job is going to be impactful, being that, you know, the first one is the first one. The second one we play Minor, and then the third one we go to Central. So it's going to be impactful. But my focus and what I'm going to be trying to do is to get our kids to focus on their job and not thinking about down the road.
Yeah, and you do, like you said, you're focused right now on the opener. Percy Julian High School, former Robert E. Lee High School, great football tradition there, and you know they come to Paul Bryant a week from tomorrow night, and it's one game, and it's not a region game, but like you said, it kind of sets the tone. How big is that first game for you, particularly with it being your first game and being at home?
Well, it's just the most important game because it is the first game of the season. And like you said, it's to set the tone for how we're going to operate. And setting the tone isn't about wins and losses for us. It's just about going out and watching our guys compete at a very, very, very high level, watching them attack adversity and knit together to overcome it. I think those are the sort of the things you look for in your team on the first game to see what type of team that you have. I think that they are more so everything that they have in mind, the plan that we have at practice. We have to put them through every situation that they could possibly be in the game so that they are prepared. And I think we're going to do that. We have, like I said before, we have a great coaching staff who are eager to get things done, and they're doing it at an excellent and a high rate. So I think after the first game, people will understand what we have built here in a short amount of time.
And as you alluded to, I know it's one game at a time, and obviously the Central game is going to be huge because you're coming from Central, and it's a region game. But you get to play your high school alma mater in week 2, as fate would have it. So I know, you know, that means a lot to you, and at the same time, you want to honor your alma mater by bringing out a quality team in Paul Bryant High School to compete against them. What's that going to feel like, though, when you take the field against your school?
Oh, it's going to be amazing. I got a lot of respect for Coach Abrams over there, coming from Hoover High School, winning state titles over there. I coached under him 2 years ago, my actual first coaching job. So I'm much appreciative to him and his staff for bringing me in to help them. But this is going to be special. It's going to be a special time. I'm just going to get our kids motored up to play and making sure they understand that the hype of the game is for the outside appearance. It's not for us. The hype of the game for us is doing our job and coming to practice every day and be able to go through the things that we need to go through so that we're prepared on Friday night.
You're 31 years old. You're not that far removed from playing. And you hear about what a grind coaching is. Do you pinch yourself sometimes that, hey, I'm already a head coach in Class 6A in high school? I mean, this has happened pretty fast for you.
Yes, sir, man. I'm just honored. I thank God every day to wake up and be able to come out here and impact these kids in a positive way. Not just the football team, but the kids in the community as I come to school and coach PE, man. It's just being able to impact and them seeing a new face, a younger face. I'm not far removed from the game, but I'm still old school in sort of my lineage from coming from Coach Saban and a lot of things that he taught me through principles and values. I try to trickle down to these young men and let them understand that the opportunity will present itself, and we have to take full advantage of it. So I'm excited, man. I think, I had a vision where I wanted to have this position 3 years from now, but the Lord works in mysterious ways and puts you in right where you need to be at the right time. And so I'm just honored. I thank God every day for myself being here and being able to have this coaching staff to affect the community in a positive way.
You referenced Coach Saban, and coming out of Monterey High School, you had options, and you chose Alabama. You won a couple national championships. Had a great career as a receiver and dynamic kick and punt returner. That experience, coming to Alabama, he'd won one national championship, but still kind of building the program, and to be a part of that legacy, what has that meant to you, not just as a football coach now and as a player, but as a person as well?
Well, for me, man, the moment I walked on that campus in 2011 and being able to win back-to-back championships with that staff that we had, Coach Saban and his staff that he presented each year is the reason why I am who I am as a coach. It's the reason why I'm detail-oriented. I'm very organized in terms of how things need to look and operate. So I think it's very important for me to still grasp and hold on to the things that I learned, whether it was personal meetings of the team, the way we operated organizational-wise, whether it was traveling to a game, getting ready, prepared for a Saturday night. So everything that he has done all the way up until this point, I have studied, I have understood, and I've taken that into consideration in everything that I do.
You won 2 national titles. I bet you look at your career, though. I bet all you guys do that were there during that time and say, we should have won the national championship every year I was here.
Oh, yeah. We all can say it. I promise you. I know those 4 years I was there from 2011 to 14, we were one play away, one game away from getting there every year.
Wow. Crazy career. Well, Coach, man, I appreciate you carving out some time for us. I know it's a busy time for you and hard enough getting a team ready, but like we said, you're taking it under some special circumstances, but good that you know the community, that you were at Central, you played at Alabama. Does that make it easier for you that even though you're taking over a new job, you're kind of familiar with the lay of the land?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, for sure. I think that's the most important part as a head coach. Understand where you are, understand where these kids come from, meeting them where they are so that you can get the best out of them and maximize their potential. So that's our goal. And, even though, we got this job in a short time, we still understand that we have to, it's a building block thing. We have to go brick by brick. We have to lay the foundation. There's no rush to trying to get everything accomplished at one time, So what we're going to do, we're going to just take our time, but we're going to move with a sense of urgency as we prepare for next week.
Final question. How many guys do you have out? What's your roster size?
I got about 55 guys out. I think when we first started, we had about 45 or 42 guys out. So we've increased, and to be honest with you, it's increasing by the day. I literally, before I got on the interview, had a kid just walk up with the counselors trying to get his schedule changed so he can get involved in football. So the morale here is boosting. We also have Stampede Day this Saturday. We want the community to come out and support and sponsors to sign up to be sponsors here. We need donations to help these kids to get everything that they need in terms of this season and in seasons to come. So we're looking to have a big turnout this Saturday. We're going to feature our band, our dance team, our cheerleading team, and then our team is going to be able to feature themselves for the first time as me as the head coach. So that's going to be perfect, a brilliant deal for our community, kid-friendly, fan-friendly. We want to just build an impeccable experience for everyone who come out. We'll have food trucks. We'll have all kinds of things for kids to participate in, and we're just going to make it a game day experience.
Man, sounds awesome, and excited for you and this opportunity. Looking forward to covering you. Thank you, Coach.
Man, thank you. I appreciate you guys. You have a blessed day.
All right, Coach Christian Jones and Paul Bryant will kick it off Friday, August 23rd, a week from tomorrow night at home against Percy Julian out of Montgomery. All right, we're going to take a time out here on the Gary Harris Show. We're wide open for phone calls in the next segment. We'll also try to get to some audio that we've got from yesterday with Nick Sheridan and Nick Saban, the Knicks. We'll be back with the Gary Harris Show. Keep it dialed in right here. The Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 AM WTBC. Since 2011, Billy's Sports Grill, located on Main Avenue in historic downtown Northport, has been serving their legendary signature chicken sandwich, award-winning wings, and handcrafted cocktails. Billy's is also the spot to watch all your favorite sporting events with big screen, high-definition televisions in both dining rooms, at the bar, and outside.
Smart Bed, plus free home delivery on select smart beds when you add any base. Limited time. To find a store near you, visit sleepnumber.com.
As much as Innisfree has evolved, it will always be that place to escape and have a good time. Whether it's for a game day weekend, to reminisce on college days, or to create new memories, if you're looking for a good time, there's only one thing to do. Head to the Free at 1925 University Boulevard. And don't forget about the Lucky Lunch Meat and 3 special. Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. until 2 p.m. Get a meat and 3 vegetables for just $8.49. Or for a lighter appetite, try the Lucky Lunch Soup, Salad, or Sandwich Combo. I'll see you at the Free.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. The chance of a few isolated showers through tonight. The high today 93. Tonight's low 74. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds. A chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms by afternoon. The high 92. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
Follow the Crimson Tide on their journey to another national championship. Touchdown, Alabama! On your home for Alabama sports, Tide 100.9, and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:20 a.m. here on the Gary Harris Show, this Thursday edition, and we've had a busy show this morning. Great to catch up with Christian Jones there. Excited for him to get this opportunity. You heard him say he was kind of a 3-year plan to be a high school head football coach. But listen, man, you take the opportunities when they come your way. And this is a great opportunity for him at Paul Bryant High School. All right, we've got some audio from yesterday with Nick Saban. And he's not the coach at Alabama anymore, but he's still Nick Saban. And when he talks, people listen. And I mentioned earlier the Knicks kids luncheon yesterday at the Zone inside of Bryant-Denny Stadium, soon to be Saban Field at Bryant-Denny Stadium. We'll have the naming ceremony for that coming up for the South Florida game on September 7th. But Coach Saban, for that luncheon yesterday, he and Miss Terry handed out $625,000 to over 100 organizations. That means nearly $13 million has been donated since the Knicks kids arrived in Tuscaloosa. Coach Saban met with the media and took questions in regards to what he's doing now and, of course, obviously Knicks kids. So here's Coach Saban from Wednesday at the Knicks kids luncheon.
Well, like I've always said, this is one of my favorite days of the year. It is actually the favorite day of the year now because we don't have football season to look forward to. Although we're looking forward to football season, we're looking forward to what Alabama can accomplish in the next era. But this today is all about the kids and how we can help people in our community have a better chance to be successful and have a better quality of life. And really pleased and happy with the people who have supported Knicks kids, Miss Terry for her time and effort in trying to help so many people in the community, which now I have a little more time to do. So we're looking forward to that challenge as well.
Coach, how are you spending your time now that you're no longer coaching?
Well, but I'm still involved in football. Having the opportunity at ESPN, whether it was doing the draft, doing SEC Network, doing game day coming up here, this next weekend, really in Ireland, in Dublin for the Georgia Tech Florida State game, keeps me involved in football, do a lot of speaking, and, hopefully try to impact the game in a positive way based on the experience and the knowledge that we've accumulated through the years from some great mentors. Maybe we can help college football continue to be all that it is and more.
Nick, this new chapter for you, what's your vision for Knicks kids and what you and Terry want to do together?
Well, we'd like to sort of make it bigger. I always look at the Jimmy V Foundation as something that has been tremendously impactful for pediatric cancer and, to continue to try to grow to be something that can have a national impact would be my vision for what we want to try to accomplish and what we want to try to do.
Coach, you've got a documentary crew following you around. What can you tell us about it? When and where can we see it once it's finished?
You know, I don't really know for sure. They're following me around, and I'm allowing them to get information. So it's going to be a challenge for them to put something positive together. I can tell you that.
How would Nick Saban tell the Nick Saban story?
You know, I just hope that my story is about helping players be more successful. The importance of the lessons that can be learned in athletics for all competitors, whether it's hard work, perseverance, overcoming adversity, pride in performance, being the best that you can be at whatever you choose to do, having the discipline to make the kind of choices and decisions that allow you to do that. Those are the things that I hope that we were able to impact the people that we were involved with, so that they could be more successful by using some of those principles and values to be successful in whatever they choose to do.
Coach, could you talk about how much you've been able to give back to the Tuscaloosa community over the last 17 years, and what you hope for the future?
Well, we've had some great support with Knicks Kids. Obviously, we have people who have been involved in Knicks Kids for the entire 17 years that we've been here. Their support, Miss Terry's efforts, and figuring out how can we best impact the community. And I'm proud of what we've been able to do, and hopefully we can continue to do more in the future.
Two more. Coach, has there been any kind of mentality change in the way you view this work you do since retirement? Or is it in business as usual?
Well, I'd say the biggest difference for me is I was in a hurry for 50 years. I mean, I was like, what's next? You know, so what's next? You know, just one thing after another from 7 a.m. to 10 o'clock at night. And now I'm not in a hurry. But what I realized is for 50 years, I didn't even know I was in a hurry. It was just a way of life. So that has been a little different. We still want to make an impact, but at the same time, we can kind of do that on our terms, you know, not on the pressures of what it takes to have a successful program.
Coach, you got about 15 players here today. What does it mean to you to see them here? They're not only giving back, but they're here because they love you.
Yeah, well, you know, I appreciate the players. The hardest thing about retiring was walking away from the players and the coaches and the people in the organization who made the team what it was. And I think there's a mutual respect there, certainly from my standpoint, for what they accomplished, what they've been able to do to contribute to the University of Alabama program. And I'm glad that they're all here, you know, supporting Knicks Kids. And, you know, hopefully that something that we did in the time that they were in the program is going to help them be successful as well.
All right, Coach, thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.
Great stuff from Nick Saban yesterday. Really enjoyed it. He is relaxed. You could hear it in his voice. You could just hear the relaxed nature of the now Nick Saban as opposed to the coaching version. Hey, let's jump out on the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline before we have to hit the break. Robbie, good morning.
Good morning, Gary. How you doing?
Doing great, buddy. How are you?
I'm doing okay. Stryker let me get some rest last night.
That's awesome. That's
awesome. Feel recharged and ready to go, so I thought I'd call in. But that was just listening to Coach Saban. That's awesome. Yeah, Nick's Kids is awesome, but you can tell he is relaxed.
Yeah, just a different tenor in his voice that he's letting people in more. You can just hear it. He's more accommodating. He's more inviting. And I think that comes from just not having that stress of having to be the Alabama coach. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. But I have a feeling that's going to change come the 24th or whenever they're doing live game day, because he's going to get intense again because he knows everything about the game. So
yeah, he does.
I can't wait to hear him.
He'll be great. But
that was awesome too with the high school coaches you're having on. It all played for him, and you know what an awesome. I mean, Christian Jones, like you say, he's coaching these kids now in high school. Played for the best, the GOAT. Then went on and played pro, and he's still young enough to relate to these players like him and Trent Richardson and all these guys. Like these kids are what a great opportunity for these kids to learn from them. So
I agree. Yeah.
So that's awesome.
It's one thing to be coached, but you're right. When you're looking at a guy who you watched play, I think it even carries more
resonates even more with you to listen. They not only coaching me, but they know what to do to get to the level I want to get to. I think that inspires guys.
Yeah, I'd like to go to some of their practices and see how they run them. Like, I guarantee they run them very tight, like Coach did. Like, right, structured all the way down to what time they get off, how they eat, how they act, everything. So, I don't know. That'd be awesome. I'm going to follow all the schools and see how they do. So a lot of them are coming out to the Striker Strong, like Trent and them are coming out, when they get done with their meetings and stuff. So it'll be good to see them all out there.
That you're going to have so many people out there for your Striker Strong golf tournament. You're going to have so many former players and coaches, and that's going to be an event unto itself as far as the people that are going to be there, man. That's going to be you got an unbelievable lineup.
Yeah, there's a lot. I'm very blessed to have a lot of my old teammates, guys that were playing football then when I was there, and basketball, and then still some of the players that are just getting done that are coming. I picked a good weekend, being Georgia weekend, and I'm glad you're going to be out. And Coach Sanderson's supposed to come out. Coach Wimp Sanderson and play. He's played a couple times with Brian Pasnick and them. I don't think Chris Stewart's going to be able to, but because of he'll be, I'm sure, slammed on Friday before Georgia. But it's going to be a good turnout, and just hope for good weather. And can't wait to see who talks on your show with you there, because we're going to have some people there. Jake Coker will be there. A lot of former players that you'll know. Maybe they'll come and talk with you live when you're there too.
That'll be my expectation. Yeah, that when I'm out there doing my show that Friday morning, we get a bunch of the guys that are there to come by and visit with us. That's going to be a big part of it for sure.
Even Doug Bell from the PGA will be there. He's playing, so that's going to be good.
Awesome.
I wish you could play.
Well, I do too, but like you said, it's a Friday, and when I'm done with my show, I got to get back here and get ready for, Football Friday, the hour show that night. So it'd be impossible to play, but I am looking forward to getting over there for the show, Robbie. So, and tell people again if they want to get involved in the golf tournament or Striker Strong, how they can do it.
Yeah, just go to strikerstrong.org. You can follow it there. You can also register. Now the teams are already locked, but you can still sponsor or come out and just come out and enjoy, meet some people. I don't, not really coming out doing autographs, but just come out and see what's going on, get involved. You can volunteer. We have 374 golfers, so we need all the help we can get to get all day going with passing out, prizes, door prizes, making sure everyone's taken care of. So strikerstrong.org, Friday, September 27th at Bentbrook.
Sounds good.
Coach's Huddle is your insight into your local prep sports program and is brought to you by Venue Tuscaloosa, Arkley GMC, and Legend Energy Drinks.
You see him on WVUA 23 covering sports and on Tider Insider TV on Tuesday nights. Don't miss a minute of the Gary Harris Show. Weekdays from 9 to 11 on Tide 100.9.
All right, 10:35. Welcome back in, and we got the instrumental version in of that popular song that Jeff Spiegel likes so much. See where Jeff, we're Wyatt's helping us maneuver around these licensing and all the stuff we got to do to play your song, but we got it in, man.
Is that you playing the acoustic guitar there?
That was me. I'm strumming right here. I'm strumming right here at the studio, buddy. Just for you. I broke out the 06 string, my friend.
So great. So great.
Hey, we know what else is great. We're talking about it and talking about it and talking about it. We're going to be playing it here before very long. And football is right around the corner. And I had Christian Jones on before you. His new job, Paul Bryant High School. And I know, obviously, we're pumped up about college football, but there's so many high school storylines with the reclassification, obviously, with Hoover's situation, Christian Jones taking over on short notice at Paul Bryant High School. I'm pumped up, and I know you are too, because you and I are products of high school football. This high school football season is starting up next week, and it's going to be a dandy, I think.
Yeah, pretty intriguing. A lot of, as you mentioned, a lot of great storylines out there. we're kind of here in this area, we're looking at, it all starts with 7A Region 3 up this way. And, 7A Region 3 has got a new kid on the block this year. The Hillcrest Patriots, are going to be going toe-to-toe with, Thompson and Hoover and Hewitt Trussville and all that. And I'm telling you, and you know this, from watching Jamie Mitchell work and those Patriots work the last 3 years, those other teams better pack a lunch, man, because that Hillcrest program is top notch. And so that's a great addition. Spain Park moved out, Hillcrest moves in. And so, that's going to be fun. And it's a redemption tour for Thompson. They got beat in the championship game last year, and, a 4-year streak of state championships broken. And so, I guess they're the Simone Biles of high school football this year. They're on the redemption tour and trying to get back on the gold medal stand.
Yeah, it's going to be fun to watch. Nick Saban yesterday at Nick's Kids, and I tell you, Jeff, retirement seems to be suiting him. I always thought, first of all, I thought he was going to coach a few more years. And then secondly, I thought he'd be like a fish out of water, but he seems to have taken to this nicely. And listening to him yesterday, you just hear it in his voice. He's more accommodating. He's more inviting. And he hasn't had this hangover that I thought he might have. Now, once you get into the season, even though he's going to be involved with game day, maybe, he'll miss it more. But he seems like that the time was right, and he's adapted very well, Jeff. At least that's my perspective.
Well, my perspective, too, is that is the same thing. But I also look at a guy who's totally at peace, with himself. He totally is at peace with what he accomplished, in his college football career, in his coaching career. My goodness, greatest of all time, in my opinion. So, the soundbite yesterday was just incredibly awesome, where he talked about, for 50 years, I've been going, nonstop from like 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., and going to what's next. And then you get that done, and then you go, so what? What's next? And then now he goes, I don't even, remember, being in a hurry. I didn't think I was in a hurry, but that's kind of the way, the coaching business is. And when you do it at his level, he was pedal to the metal for 15 hours a day, probably even more. He probably underestimated that. But I agree. And I think that's one reason why he looks so relaxed, is because this is a guy who's got, no regrets with walking away. Is he going to miss it, around October or November? Maybe, but I don't think so. I think he's going to be so in tune with what he's doing as far as an ESPN college football analyst that, this is a guy who's not going to look back, no regrets, full speed ahead. Let's do this thing.
And the guy that's taking over for him, and I've been discussing Kalen DeBoer obviously every week, but he seems so comfortable in his skin. And I've had a lot of people ask me, what's it going to be like when he loses a game? And I was on another show this morning before mine, and I was asked that question. How do you think he'll respond? Jeff, I'll ask you. I'll tell you my take. I think when and if he loses a game on that Saturday, when he walks in there that Monday to meet with us, I think it's going to be the same Kalen DeBoer. I just don't see – I think he's very comfortable with who he is as a coach and as a person. And again, he hasn't coached a game yet, but I've been so impressed by his demeanor. And I think during the season, with the ups and downs, I think he's going to be consistent. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. He's lost games before. He's only lost 12, I think, in his coaching career. But and he lost on the biggest stage, you can lose on.
He did.
And, that didn't really, change him and change his approach and how he goes about doing things. I think he's a perfect temperament, I think, for a football coach. He's very even keel, not going to get too high, not going to get too low. Some of the folks that I talk to in the media go, well, gosh, he's not as exciting as Nick Saban. He's not going to throw a headset. He's not going to, cue out a media guy for asking a silly question. But this guy's got a lot going on, and he's very organized. He's got a great staff, and I think I don't see a significant drop off here. I mean, I look at their schedule and I see some tough football games, to win on the road. I see a 10-2 record, but I also think it could be a little better than that. But I think this guy's going to be really good.
Hugh Freeze made some news earlier this week, and of course that's part of being, coaching the SEC, particularly when you're at Auburn and your rival's Alabama, on the SEC Network show Talking Season with Marty Smith and help me out with the other guy, the NASCAR guy.
Ryan McGee.
Ryan McGee, yeah. And these were pre-recorded interviews, and he was asked the question about his success against Nick Saban. So it wasn't like he just volunteered it. But he said, I've got 2 wins against him. I should have 2 more. I should have 4 wins. It created a little bit of a stir, and he's right. He could have 4 wins. He could have 0 wins. I mean, the 2 games that he won, he could have lost. Alabama threw a late interception in Oxford in 2014 and then had 5 turnovers in 2015 and still had the ball there with a chance to win late in that game. So I get it. I guess you can poke the bear now that the Bear's no longer coaching, but I don't know. I thought that was from my perspective, obviously covering Alabama, I thought that was a pretty bold statement to make. It wasn't I could have, it was I should have. I should have 4 wins against Nick Saban, or against them, I think is what he said. Your reaction to those comments?
Yeah, it was a really bold statement. Here's the thing, and I was at both of those games. All right, first let's go back to 2016. Yeah, they did have a 24-3 lead with 2:47 to go in the first half. But that lead was cut to 24-17 by the time they got in the locker room.
It was.
So they lost the momentum in a span of like 2 minutes and 47 seconds. So, and then it was like basketball on grass, in the second half. And then, Alabama won the shootout. It's a crazy game. All right, last year's Iron Bowl. Yeah, I mean, he probably should have won that game. And there are like 99 football coaches that are coaching like D1 football who would have done a much better job defending on 4th and 31 than Hugh Freeze did last year in that Iron Bowl. It was ridiculous, that they let Alabama score a touchdown on that play on 4th and 31.
Mm-hmm.
So when he says, we could have had, or we should have had, 4 wins against Nick Saban, well, he's probably right. You probably should have, had you coached a little better. Now, to his credit, on his follow-up interview, on the Paul Feinbaum show, and he also said this on Marty and McGee as well, I should have coached a little better. Had I coached a little better, I would have gotten 2 more wins against Nick. So I think that's one of those things that, people hear what they want to hear, but they don't hear the rest of the interview. But he did mention that in both of those interviews, that had he coached a little better, he would have had 4 wins.
Yeah, and I agree with you. At the same time, the woulda, coulda, shoulda game can be played about anybody. I mean, you have 2 Alabama. I never heard Nick Saban say we should have won more national championships. We should have won more SEC championships. Even though you could make an argument that he could have easily won 9 or 10 national championships. You either win or you don't. And that's right. That's the thing. When you play in this league and you play in rivalry games, Jeff, many of them are going to go right down to the wire. Hugh Freeze could have been in Atlanta, too, if he doesn't, they give up a 4th and 10 all-time play against Arkansas. So you got to make those plays. And I like what you said about last year. Yeah, you were in position to win. But 4th and 31, it wasn't like it was a fluke. I mean, Milrose stood back there, surveyed the field, and then Isaiah Bond got open. I mean, so you better start making those plays if you're going to, because the wouldas and couldas and shouldas aren't going to carry you long term at Auburn. You're going to have to do it. You're going to have to win against Georgia. You're going to have to win against Alabama some. So we'll see going forward. All right, give me your UAB update. I like Trent Dilfer. I like listening to him talk. He gets me fired up. You said last week you think they're going to be better, but what is better? Is this a team? Can they make it to a bowl game?
Well, I think they can. Better would be a bowl game. I mean, we talked to the center, Brady Wilson, who's a Remington Trophy watch list guy, and he said, look, individual, nominations are great, but we want to win. If we could win a championship along with those individual honors, that'd be great. And he mentioned going to a bowl game and how great that would be. They also mentioned, the fact that, playing in a conference championship game and hosting that, would be even better. So there's all the talk, there's all the positive talk going on. And now, it's time to kind of get it done. And in a couple of weeks from today, they'll go against Alcorn State and they'll win big, and everybody's going to feel pretty good about that. And then you kind of go into the meat of the AAC schedule and kind of see where it goes from there. And I think they can go to a bowl game. They're not going to win a league title, but a big step would be getting back to a bowl game. And that's, I think that's kind of what the guys are focused on now. And, you talk about woulda, coulda, shouldas. I mean, should have played better defense last year. Should have played better defense. Had they played better defense, they would have been going to a bowl game, but they were atrocious on defense. So they got to shore that up. And if they do, they got a quarterback that can make a lot of plays. They got some playmakers on offense, a lot of them. But what's going to matter with UAB is can they stop people? And they couldn't do it last year.
Let me ask you about the former coach at UAB. And because John Hartwell, the AD there, is actually on that show that I'm on out of Memphis in the mornings. Great guy, tremendous guy. He's fired up about Bryant Vincent, buddy. I'm telling you, I listened to him talk this morning. I mean, listen, it's ULM, but he is pumped up about Bryant Vincent and the job that he's going to do there. You got to know Bryant Vincent a little bit, covering him at UAB. What do you think of him as a coach and the job that he's got ahead of him at ULM?
Well, he's got a really good offensive mind. And this is one of those situations where, that athletic directors, rarely, I don't want to say, I don't know how many cases, but I haven't seen many cases where, the interim guy gets an opportunity to be the head coach. Right. I mean, there are a few, but in many cases they want to clean out the staff and they want to start from scratch, and they want to try to find somebody dynamic and somebody who can come in and who's not what they've had before. And so that's what Bryant Vincent ran into. I thought Bryant did a really good job, during in his interim role, at UAB, a really good job. But he knew, from the get-go that he had no chance to get that head coaching job. So I'm happy for him that he's found a place and that, I think he's in a position where, he can have some success. But it just wasn't to be the case at UAB. But there's no doubt about it. This guy's a dang good football coach.
Let me ask you about Bill Clark. He seems just like he's just waiting in the weeds. How long before you think he coaches again?
I don't know. The longer he's out.
True.
The less I think that he's gonna get back in, and I don't know if it falls under the rule of the less you do, the less you want to do. The more you're out of it, the more you realize, hey, this is great. I've got a lot of time on my hands, and I can do stuff I want to do. I'm not slave to a clock and to a practice schedule and all that, but I don't know what he's thinking. I don't know how much passion he has to get back into the game. And, but I think he's a great coach, but he may find some things out there that he thinks are just a whole lot more fun to do than, living and dying over what 18 to 22-year-olds do.
Well said. Great stuff as always. And I know you'll have more great stuff coming up Sunday night on The Zone.
Yeah, Sunday at 10:30 on ABC 3340. Gary, appreciate the plug as always, and have a great week.
Thanks, Jeff. Jeff Spiegel, ABC 3340 in Birmingham. It is 10:50 here on the Gary Harris Show. And if you want to get great barbecue to go and have it delivered, you can do so now. Who's Q and Brew is offering to-go service through DoorDash, but call Who's Q and they'll set it up for you, but you can get that great barbecue delivered right to your door. Who's Q now offering delivery through DoorDash. We'll be back to wrap up the Gary Harris Show. We got time to squeeze in a phone call. If you want to give us a call, 205-342-9904 is the number to the Pinnacle Park at North River hotline. We're back after this.
If you haven't already, you've got to try Tuscaloosa's unique breakfast, brunch, and lunch concept. Brick and Spoon, downtown Tuscaloosa, Timerson Square. It's fresh food with a Cajun flair featuring a full bar with build-your-own Bloody Marys and mimosas. Open daily, 7 a.m. until 2 p.m. Available for after hours of...
In Alabama, Julio Jones Kia off Greensboro Ave. Stop in today or visit us online at buyfromjulio.com.
Buyers must have qualified credit. Not all buyers will qualify.
Tuscaloosa's Old Colony Golf Course is an 18-hole championship layout designed by 1976 U.S. Open champion Jerry Pate. Director of Golf John Gray and fitting specialist Bob Montgomery are PGA certified. Mike Shivitz is the head professional and director of the Tuscaloosa Junior Golf Program. Call today to secure a
deal or text deal to 511-511.
Your order is back with a 90-day guarantee.
All dogs are unique. Your dog results can and will vary. Message and data rates may apply.
Life doesn't wait for when your finances are in perfect order. It just happens. But no matter what surprises come your way, Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. They offer an easy application process and fast decisions so you can stay focused on feeling good about whatever life brings your way. Alabama Credit Union will be here to help make it affordable with great personal loans, mortgages, and auto loans. Alabama Credit Union, loans for real life. Visit alabamacu.com to learn more. Some rules and restrictions apply. See if you're eligible for membership, then join today and feel good about your money.
Tide 100.9 Tuscaloosa weather.
A partly sunny sky today. The chance of a few isolated showers through tonight. The high today 93. Tonight's low 74. Tomorrow a mix of sun and clouds. A chance of scattered showers and thunderstorms by afternoon. The high 92. I'm James Spann on the ABC 3340 Weather Center on Tide 100.9.
The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
All right, 10:54, and I was just telling me, Philip, if you're listening, you've been trying to get through. You've been catching us with guests. If you're listening, you can call in and get through. We got about 3 minutes. You can call in and get through right now if you want to. Quick update. The FedEx St. Jude Classic is underway up in Memphis. It's the first playoff event of the PGA Tour, the top 70 in the playoff standings. Ben Griffin is lighting it up. He's -5 through 16 holes. Tommy Fleetwood is -4 through 11. Of course, two former Alabama golfers made the top 70. Unfortunately, Davis Riley was number 71. That's 2 years in a row that an Alabama golfer was 71 and didn't make it. Last year was Justin Thomas at 71. This year it's Davis Riley, but Nick Dunlap and Justin Thomas are playing. Justin Thomas is off to a very average start, maybe mediocre. He is 1 over through 8 holes, has made 2 bogeys and a birdie. He's going to need to kick it in and get it going. Nick Dunlap is just getting going in his round. I'm trying to find him here on the scoreboard. I'm into the pluses, and I don't see him. Let's see, maybe. Oh, gosh, I hate when I can't find somebody. I don't see him. I'm just overlooking him. I'm sure but anyway, they're both playing, and Dunlap just teed off about 40 minutes ago, so he's not very deep into his round, but we'll continue to monitor that. Hey, by the way, tomorrow, I am heading down to the beach this afternoon. When I get done with my radio show and can run a couple of errands, get packed, so probably won't get out of town probably until 2 o'clock or so, but I'm going to be down at Orange Beach for a few days. Have a little respite before football season, so I'll be doing my show tomorrow morning. I'll be with you for the TGIF edition, but I'll be coming to you live from Orange Beach, Alabama. Maybe sitting out on the balcony looking over the beach. Who knows? But we'll be with you tomorrow. But and we'll have Chase back, so Wyatt's can get a little bit of a break after going, I guess, 5:30 a till 6 p. every day this week.
5:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. every day this week. I've already worked 48 hours this week, and it's Thursday morning. So.
All right. Well, you're a trooper. Did anybody, I mentioned somebody, if somebody wants to, did anybody bring you lunch by the station yet?
They didn't, and yesterday I forgot to pack a lunch. So I had 2 Pop-Tarts at 6 o'clock in the morning and didn't eat again until 8 o'clock last night.
Yeah, well, that's a good way, man. Fasting. I'm an intermittent faster. You drop a few pounds that way. You know what
Look, I woke up like 4 pounds lighter this morning.
There you go. I mean, it's funny. Hey, I did find Nick Dunlap. Yeah, Dunlap's off to a good start. I knew I'd find him. He has played his first 2 holes at 1 under. He parred number 1, and then he birdied number 2, and now he's playing the par 5 third, which is a birdie hole. So good start for Nick Dunlap, who got into the top 70, even though those 500 points that he would have gotten for winning the American Express when he was an amateur, he didn't get those points. And he still earned his way into the top 70. So that's pretty cool. Be awesome if he was in contention this weekend. All right, that's going to do it for the show. I want to thank all of our great guests for joining us this morning. Also, all of our great sponsors that make the show possible. And I want to thank Wyatt again for his great work. He is going to be with you now with T-Town Sports Daily right after my show at 11 a.m. And then great sports talk all day long right here on Tide 100.9 FM and 1230 a.m. WTBC. As I said, I'll be with you tomorrow morning from down at Orange Beach, Alabama. Talk to you then. Have a great day, everybody.
Thank you for listening to